I think just understanding the mental grind throughout the whole season and what it takes to be sharp every day. Coming out with an edge and not getting complacent. Obviously Jax is a tremendous center fielder, but he knows he can get better, and I think from a defensive standpoint, he knows he can still improve upon last year, as well as obviously from the offensive standpoint, there's room to grow. So hopefully he takes that leap and makes the quantum leap from last year to this year.
Coach, any major takeaways from last week's scrimmage on either side of the ball, you feel like, in comparison to what you saw maybe in the fall?
We have to get better, top to bottom. I think just, continually improving on the pitching side of things and pounding the strike zone. And then offensively, I've been a little bit disappointed the past few games just on being able to put good at-bats together and string good at-bats together. It might be one here and there, but being able to kind of put the team offense together is needs to improve.
It's Isaiah being first committed under the previous staff and then staying committed through these last season or so. Was there any re-recruiting that had to be done? Can you sort of walk us through the process of how sort of he stayed on board and you guys were sort of in contact throughout that time?
I think Isaiah, not to speak for him, but I think he understands the value of being at Arizona State. And what the program is bigger than any one person, when head coach included. So coming here, this sets you up for life if you do it right. And I think he understands that, and I hopefully he respects the current coaching staff enough that he likes it here. Again, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I think he likes it.
He's back.
He's here, so that's enough to be said that in today's transfer happy world, that if you're not getting everything you want, just go look for greener pastures. I don't think Isaiah's been raised that way, and that's a tribute to his family of raising him the right way. So he's happy here. He vetted that process before he stepped foot on campus, so he knew what he was getting into, and I think hopefully I'm what I advertised to him, and I'm trying not to pull any punches and be myself. So everything I've had with him has been great. He takes coaching well. He takes constructive criticism well, and he's turning into a leader around here. So happy with what he's doing.
How has he kind of led the way in the outfield, considering that's probably the most crowded position battle the team's got?
Again, he understands that we're moving one of two directions. We're either getting worse or we're getting better, and you can't stand still. And his mentality is that he understands he has to get better and continue to improve. And my job is to continue pushing him with myself coaching him, and our other coaches pushing him to get better, but also continue to recruit players that push him as well, that are itching for playing time. So with I don't know if you guys know Nick McLean, with his hand going down, there's battle for playing time out there. So it's good competition.
Isaiah mentioned that this was the best decision he ever made, foregoing the MLB minor league system and going to college. Do you think that's kind of an underrated part of the game, where instead of getting stuck in a minor league system, guys instead try to get their stock up by going to college instead?
For me, it's obviously the landscape has changed since my own experience going through it. But I think the number one thing is, from a maturity level, you got to be ready to handle pro ball, and it's not an easy lifestyle. It's not all the things and challenges that get thrown at you on and off the field. You have to be mature enough and ready to handle it. And as an 18-year-old kid, I can speak for myself, I was not even close to mature enough to be able to handle that coming out of high school. So there are some kids that are ready to do it, and they're getting a lot of dollars thrown at them to persuade them away from the college experience, which I think you can't put a price tag on. So for him to do that, I think he's going to leave Arizona State with his degree, the college experience that you can't put a price tag on, and I think he's going to be more mentally and physically mature to when you get to pro ball. My goal is for our players to not play pro ball, it's to be big leaguers. So to equip them with what they're going to need to move up the minor league system. It's not just, let's get the A-ball and call it a career. No, I want you to get to the big leagues and be successful and stay there for a long time. And in order to do that, you have to learn how to deal with failure. And I think college prepares you, or can prepare you very well for that. So obviously I'm a big advocate for college before you get to pro ball, but I think to echo what he said, it's hopefully the best decision of his life.
On that note,
Isaiah described Ryan Campos as a professional in a college clubhouse. Have you been able to use him as an example of what this program embodies and what you want it to be, especially for these younger freshmen and then also the transfers as well?
Well, I think Campy is a guy that if you want to know how to do it right, you just follow him around. And I've encouraged the younger guys to. Joe Lampe took Campy under his wing. Campy has taken other guys under, and following suit under his wing. So, these guys want to learn what it's like to be an All-American and take care of your body and eat healthy and do things right and follow Ryan Campos around. He's established in himself as a tremendous leader in there by example. And to me, that's what this program, we need to continue getting those type of kids that aren't satisfied with being great. They want to be better than great and continue to strive for to be the best they can. So Campy's been outstanding.
You hit on it a minute ago about Nick McLean in his hand. Is it hurt again?
Yeah, Nick broke his other hamate bone. So he's, obviously we missed him significant amount of time last year with, I believe it was his left hamate bone. This year, a few days ago, did his right one. So we're going to be without him to start the season, but hopefully, hoping we're getting him back by conference play if all goes well, or maybe a week prior if things go really well. But it's one of those, I say one of those freak accidents, but in this case it's twice because he's a switch hitter and it's usually that bottom hand that when it happens it does, and unfortunately we'll be without him to start the season. But our strength of our team, I think, is our depth. I think we're in a spot where we'll be able to weather the storm and hopefully get him back as soon as we can.
How's he kind of doing emotionally with that? Obviously, back-to-back years where he's had an issue with that. He had injuries prior to he came to ASU. Can you speak about just how he's kind of handling that?
He's injuries are part of the game. Nick has done a tremendous job from last year to this year, and just the overall work ethic and dedication to getting better and better as a player. And I think it took him a little while to learn that, but he's been outstanding as far as coming and getting his work in and being improving himself as a player. So when you do all that and then you have another setback, which is an important year for him and us as a team, he feels that a little bit and is dejected, a little bit bummed. But on the other hand, it's like, look, you've been through this last year. Let's not make the same mistakes you did last year with it. Let's continue to keep our legs in shape, our arm in shape, all that type of stuff. So when you are able to play, you're ready to go. I think, he's disappointed. Every competitor gets disappointed when you can't play because of injury. But I think his maturity from last year to this year is significantly increased, and he'll be ready to go, and hopefully. Obviously put everything he has into the rehab to get back ready to go as quick as he can.
Coach, kind of going back to getting these kids ready for the next level of baseball, you brought in guys like Cole Calhoun and Brett Walsh to talk to them. What does it mean to bring in those guys who have had experience like that to teach the kids what it means?
That's what's special about this program. We're number one in the history of college baseball and draft picks and big leaguers, and we have that ASU family that are around here, that live in the valley, and I want these guys around and share their experiences with them to just reiterate how special this place is. You get a guy like Cole Calhoun that respectfully isn't the most talented guy in the world, but has had a 10-year career plus in the big leagues. Why? Because of mindset, mentality, work ethic, all the things that we're preaching to these guys. So to have him be around and reiterate those type of things on mentality and what it takes to be a great player here and then move on and do it beyond here, that's the specialness of Arizona State. We can do that where other programs don't have the repertoire and the past history of players that we do, and that'll always stand alone.
Thomas Burns talked earlier about understanding the winning mentality, and the rest of the freshmen understanding the winning mentality of this program early. What did you do and the rest of the coaching staff to kind of instill that message early on with that group to get them to soak it in?
Just remain consistent and tell them that the door is wide open. We had a lot of our arms get picked by the draft last year and left. So first and foremost, you have an opportunity to come in and play as a freshman. Secondly, what it takes to win as a freshman, and really, throughout your career, is just stressing the emphasis on pounding the strike zone, working ahead, and keeping composure, and trying to put them in tough situations that are they're going to be faced with, and have to work out of those situations. So Thomas is the right type of kid mentality-wise, has tremendous talent, and he's got a lot to learn still, but right now he's got a chance to be pretty special.
The freshmen are getting to see a lot of the opportunities when it comes to the scrimmages, especially last week. It felt like everyone who was pitching during that scrimmage last week was a freshman. How, at least, have you seen the progression of them, at least in the last couple of weeks, transition from fall to winter, and how do you feel like, in comparison to last week where you feel like you had a lot of options for your weekend rotation, do you feel like you're slowing, you feel like you have a good idea of now what it could possibly look like? Do you feel like there's still time in these next 2 weeks to fine-tune it out?
No, I think there's the one thing that you do have to realize with freshmen is some weeks they're going to come out and look really good, and other weeks they're just going to come out and not look so good. And so you can't give up on them. You can't get too high and too low early on with these guys, and hopefully steadiness over the course of the year wins the race, and continue to try to improve these guys. So there's guys that we weren't anticipating maybe pitching a whole lot at the end of the fall that have come out and shown really good this spring. Again, you're going to have leaps and bounds because they're freshmen. They're adjusting to all this stuff. So that's going to be a fluid thing throughout the year on who our best 12 arms are and who we're going to use on any given weekend in particular, and that's just something we're going to have to understand and not put the expectations on these guys to go out and be dominant every outing. They're going to have their pitfalls and times to where they need coaching, and they need reassurance that they're good, and they just have to get back on the horse. And there's going to be days in baseball where you get your teeth kicked in a little bit, but you got to bounce back. So this is all a big learning thing for these guys, and obviously it's a continued learning adjustment for us coaches as well.
And do you feel like that because of that, there will at least be in the first couple of weeks a kind of an experimenting of who can we at least try out on Fridays, Saturdays? Do you feel like that at least in the first couple of weeks it's just going to be more experimenting, or do you feel like it's going to be by opening day you will have a solid Friday, Saturday guy already lined up? Things evolve, I think. And again, from week to week, outing to outing, you kind of see how guys are throwing the ball, how they're feeling physically, and it's our job as coaches to make adjustments and try to put the best guys out that are going to give us a chance to win. If that changes from week to week, so be it. But if it's consistent throughout the year, obviously I'd be happy because that means they're doing pretty good. So, we'll narrow it down here in the next week or so as to who our, Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys are looking like, and where guys are going to best fit and coming out of the pen and give us again the best chance to win games.
Coach, you feel like the middle infield might be the place with the most question marks coming into the season. How has that shaped out across the winter, and do you expect Jax Ryan and Ethan Doe to challenge for some of those spots throughout the year? Yeah,
it's been a dogfight in the middle. We've moved some guys around. We have Kevin Carstetter over there kind of at second base now, and Mario Demera's a veteran guy that can bounce in there, but our two freshmen have done a great job at nipping at the heels of the upperclassmen, and they're going to get playing time. They've earned it, and they'll be in there at some point and mixing in. So, and again, it might be one of those situations we go with the hot hand for a while and see how that goes. But end of the day, that's those guys are a big part of not only this year's team, but moving forward, they're a big part of the program.
And then you mentioned Cole Carlone kind of the back end of that bullpen as a potential option. Who else has shown themselves as good options in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning?
Well, there's a couple of our older guys you can use in a variety of roles. Jonah Giblin, Matt Teeding, those type of guys. Hunter Omlid, is a veteran guy. Sean Fitzpatrick. Those are all guys that we can mix and match late if we have to. Wyatt Halverson's thrown the ball. I'm not sure if he's quite ready for a late inning role yet, but has shown promise back there. Ben Jacobs is another guy with electric stuff that could go in the back end for an inning or two. We have some options. I think it's not going to be one of those things. I think we went into the year last year pretty defined 7, 8, 9. I don't think we're there, right now, to be honest. We had Wayne Scott and then Piv and Owen Stevenson kind of to finish out games last year, and we had a pretty good recipe for that. Those roles haven't been firmly established yet, but hopefully we do.
Such a deep lineup. Where do you expect a guy like Eamon Lance, who's been around baseball, college baseball, and really good power hitter, to fill in?
I think he's a great bat. He's going to mix in DH, pinch hitting. You know, his job's going to be go up and produce runs, RBIs in big situations. So, yeah, I mean, an experienced bat. That's why we got him. You know, he's an older veteran guy that knows how to hit and knows his approach, and I think he adds, whether or not he's starting or that threat of coming off the bench and having a big right-handed power bat coming off the bench has been key. That was something we've been missing the past couple of years, and we're happy to have him.
How reassuring is it to have a guy like Campos when you have so many young pitchers and maybe having that sort of calming presence? Obviously, you're going up against the tough lineups in fall ball and whatnot, but it's got to be different when you get into the season. Those heated moments come up.
Yeah, I think having a guy that's been there and done that for a couple of years and put up the track record that Campy has, I think is his mentality is pretty even keel, good, bad, or indifferent, and that having that calming presence with especially a lot of young arms is key. Just to go out and talk to those guys on occasion and slow them down, settle things down, and Campy does a good job working behind the plate too and getting those borderline pitches that sometimes we need. So. Huge having him. Obviously love having him.
How have you seen his routines change maybe at all from freshman year to now? Isaiah talked about how Campos helped him out with that a little bit. Did things like, have you talked to Campos that helped him establish some of that, or where do you think that sort of originated from?
Joe Lampe is a big factor. Those guys were pretty tight when Lamp was here. Joe's work ethic was, the guy's a machine. He's a motor that doesn't turn off. He's always going, and Campy took to him, pretty well. And those guys were, wherever one was, the other one was. And Campy did a great job of learning from him. And now, like I said, he's passing it down to the next generation of guys. And hopefully that's the type of work ethic the program will hopefully continue to build upon and teach guys how to do things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to pitching for a second, Tyler Meyer mentioned on Friday that he was going to pitch on Sunday in the inter-squad scrimmage. What did you see from him in his first outing in a while in live action?
From Tyler Meyer?
Yeah.
Tyler's been great. His health, first and foremost, is back to where I think where it should be, and so that part of things is not a concern anymore at this point, which is obviously music to all of our ears, and happy for him as a young man that's been through a lot and had to deal with a lot of adversity, a lot of ups and downs with it. But his health-wise is back. His arm strength is back to where it was pre-injury. Credit to Jesse Lohman and Tim, our strength coach, to get him back to where he is. Those guys have been outstanding. But now it's just a matter of fine-tuning and continuing to get sharper. You remember Tyler, when he was at the top of his game, he was very good locating his pitches, and he's getting closer and closer every day with that. Not quite to where we've seen him at his best, but he's getting pretty close. So then it's just a matter of continuing to ramp up the endurance, and hopefully he'll be in that rotation at some point during this year.
And Coach, you mentioned obviously Ryan, what he means as a catcher, but with the young guys and like you said, with guys coming back, how much, I guess, of a comfort, not that anything's easy, but a comfort just having him back there and learning how to work with each pitcher?
Again, that's an experienced veteran guy back there, and Trey Newman, I'll add to that as well as Josiah Cromwell. But especially Newman and Campy have been here for a couple years. They know the pitching staff pretty well, and tribute to those guys. They're in that bullpen all the time, catching pens and staying sharp and understanding what guys' pitches do, what makes them successful, when they're on, when they're off, that type of thing. So having that veteran presence is great.
Coach, how does McLean's injury kind of shift things out around in the outfield going forward?
It opens opportunities up for other guys. Kian Vu, who's often not talked about enough, great player, and just kind of gets overshadowed with a couple of those other guys out there. But Kian's going to get an opportunity. Josiah Cromwell can play out there. Brandon Compton, maybe get an opportunity out there as well. So it opens things up, but not having that bat in the lineup and lengthening that lineup out,
that's going to leave a little bit of a mark, to be honest, probably, and those are big shoes to fill. But like I said, the good news is we have depth to where we can withstand it, and not that I enjoy having a guy get injured, but at least we have the depth to be able to account for it and hopefully not lose much ground.
And then last year you kind of shifted Campy out to the left field quite often. Is that a potential option without McLean, or do you want to keep it on Trey?
It is, certainly. We'll move him out there on occasion and give Trey or Cromwick or even Brody Briggs an opportunity to catch, and obviously keeping Campy's bat in the lineup is paramount. So if we're better with him in left field and somebody else DHing or vice versa, we'll do that, and that's always an option.
And as a coach, I mean, to piggyback off that, you always want the challenge of having it really tough to put a lineup card together. And like you were saying, with guys that can hit and the depth you have there, how many sleepless nights do you think you might have putting a lineup card together?
It's the biggest challenge is going to be trying to keep all these guys sharp and fresh, and sometimes you can only put 9 of them out there, and so that's the challenge that I have is which nine to go out there, which one gives us the best opportunity to win, every day. And for me, there might be a very talented guy or two that aren't playing, and that's going to be tough. Maybe guys that aren't used to not playing that are going to have to adjust to that, and that'll be the challenge for me and my coaching staff to figure out on a daily basis who's going to give us the best chance to win each game.
How do you feel like the shortstop situation is kind of taking shape with Odino out there, and then Ryan obviously coming in as a freshman? How do you feel like that's kind of taking shape so far?
I mean, I think those guys, I wouldn't hesitate putting either one of them out there, and they're both capable of doing great things. Stevens, he's pretty flashy, he can pick it up and get it across the diamond pretty well and make some really outstanding plays. Jax is more of the steady Eddie, isn't going to draw like a lot of attention to you with his quick actions, but the kid just continues to make play after play after play consistently, which is what you ask for your shortstop. So both of those guys are in the mix and are going to continue to fight for playing time all year long.
It's so much unknown at the moment as far as how the pitching is going to play out in the early season. What are you just wanting to see from the group early on and just the team as a whole through the early going in the season?
I think just clean play. I don't care so much about punch outs and striking guys out as I do about just throwing a ball at the plate and not beating yourself. Throwing strikes, working ahead, forcing early contact, and then hopefully playing good solid defense behind them. To me, you don't have to have the electric repertoire. What good does that do if you can't throw it across the plate, right? So that's what we're trying to preach to these guys, and especially the young guys. We understand we're going to have some ups and downs with them, and there's going to be times where they lose it a little bit. It's okay, but as long as they keep competing and trying to throw the ball over the plate or give the other 8 guys out there a chance to field the ball, we'll be okay.
You had mentioned during the fall that New Contreras was getting some reps in a couple other positions. Do you see that kind of coming into effect this year, or not really?
Not really. New's too good over at third base for me to move him off of there. He's capable of playing second, I think he's even capable of playing short. Center field, who knows, he could be a tremendous center fielder at the next level. He can certainly run a lot better than people think. He's fast, explosive. He can do a lot of things really well. I bet you could probably put him behind the plate if you really needed to. Tremendously athletic, but he's just too good over third for me to move him off the hot corner. He's too valuable there.
Okay.
Then talking about defense, I mean, the defense obviously grew last year, the depth you added. How do you see the defense growing this year?
Continuing to make the routine plays. That's and again, we've had a little bit of a turnover, especially in the middle of the diamond with our shortstop, second baseman situation, but just continuing to grind on them and emphasize make the routine play and turn the double play. If we can continue to do that, we got a chance to keep everybody in the game, and I don't need them to go out and make highlight reel plays. I need them to make the consistent routine ones and make them very frequently. So that's what I ask of our middle guys, and the range will come as we continue to move on. But those guys so far have done a pretty good job.